It came about through really my initial meeting with Alan Holdsworth, the guitarist, because when I first met Alan, he was together with Jack, and they were trying a three-piece together. This is long back, 78, 79. Oof. and I met him then, and there was possibility of maybe doing something, which we did. We had a few sort of jammy kind of improvisational gigs, but it didn't turn out to be the band that both of them were hoping for, and there were certain difficulties with that anyway. But yeah, I'd met Jack a long time back, but not really played with him until 93, when I sort of joined his trio. Really, he had a trio with Blues Saraceno, the great rock blues guitarist, and we were hammering it home with that trio. I'll tell you, it was real fun, but full of Jack. I mean, it was all about Jack's way, and it was just such an honor and a pleasure to be involved with him in any aspect of life, really, because as rich as he was in music, he was like that as a human being. I mean, this goes back to wanting to cultivate the person in the playing again, because it's not like you can be one way in music and like some other kind of person completely in life. You're the same. You play who you are. People play who they are. And he was exactly as he played in life. I mean, it's just the most complete existential thing in music. That's the perfect example. Jack Bruce. Oh, how miss him.
Any special memories of him and your time together come up for you around that, whether playing gigs or recording or just hanging out?
No, I can remember exactly how many times I was fired. No, it was all part of the exuberance and this fantastic experience on stage. I mean, it was such a, do you ever know this expression, David, that in spontaneous music, when you want to really go for something, it's like you make the leap. You dive off the cliff. You make the leap, or you dive or you leap, one or the other. Gary boy. So let's say you make the leap, and you find some way to deal with the way you're falling as you're falling. So you negotiate the fall as you're falling, but the leap you just took. Now that's a kind of special thing, isn't it? I mean, and not really those words. Jack would allude to music and the approach to playing that very much that way, and it's exactly how he played.
I love that. You leap, negotiate the fall, and you hope for a good landing, right?
Yeah, you negotiate the fall as you're falling.
And hopefully
nothing to worry about.
Right. And hopefully land on the one, right? So that's the that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he loved landing on two. He loved landing on four, and I mean, anything irregular Jack loved, and he'd make something out of the accidents. The accident, where he'd fall, where he'd land, and he'd make perfect sense out of it. What an artist. That's artistry.
Absolutely. No question about it. And I can't let it pass, Gary, because you worked with him as well. We're talking about Jack Bruce, but obviously with Ginger Baker, who just recently passed. Can you share your thoughts and feelings or experiences with Ginger, please?
Really? Do you really want me?
You don't have to. This is good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, he was obviously an amazing musician, and seemed like, I didn't know him, and obviously I only saw the movie, but you hear about stuff, a very difficult guy to get along with. Right?
I know he was a very colorful and controversial person, but the thing, I love characters in drums, and on the 3 occasions I worked on the same production as him, because I played alongside him with Jack or other things. We did a lot of celebrating of birthdays, and I remember these big concerts, lots of musicians there, and he'd be there, and he really couldn't have been any nastier to me. And the other drummers involved in the production. Hey, it's everybody to his own. We don't have to be best friends. But when he gets up there, it really could be only that person, and I love that. I just loved it. We don't have to be friends. That's all right. It very definitely wasn't in the realms of possibility, and it certainly wasn't being invited, an opportunity to be friends or even civil, for that matter. But I mean, he was a character, and look, we're talking again. He played like he was. He was as controversial in his playing as he was as a person. He was confrontational as he was in real life, as he played. And that's there you go.
What do you think the issue was there? Because such a dichotomy of the praise that you talk about playing with Jack Bruce and just the person and man he was, and that connection versus what was going on with Ginger, do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, what was going off? What was going on? I don't know. I had no opportunity to even get past 2 sentences with him. But a lot of people tell very fascinating stories about him, and I'm quite fascinated by that, because I would have liked to have known a little bit more about the person. I didn't have an opportunity, but hey, it's okay. What he did with Jack, can I just mention that in Cream, because we all love those records, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you go back and really just next time you go, David, or anybody listening or watching, listen to Ginger's bass drum and listen to Jack's bass. This is very interesting, because there's stuff for as much as the hate that they used to perpetuate. I don't know whether it was for the show business, whatever, but there was this unbelievable chemistry between them, where they could bring spontaneously an unbelievable kind of complementary sort of interplay, to the extent one of them would play in the notes the other one leaves. Now you check that out with Cream. I mean, and leave it till you get into one of Eric's solos, extended solos, and check out the bass drum and the bass. It's something. It's something else.
It's incredible. I love Cream, obviously, and I'll go back and focus on that specifically. I think what we're talking about, though, is some of Ginger's stuff, whatever you want to call that, was really, going back to this young man that you were mentoring and who sent you the videos. That gets into the mindset of that judgment, or I can't play like him, but who cares really? It's all about, it's more of the groove, the fills, and that's the icing on the cake. But sadly, it's whatever Ginger couldn't figure that out as far as getting past that judgment of others, it sounds like. So
yeah, I mean, of course, there's plenty of this old school put a person on edge rather than, and let's see what develops out of that first, and then we'll decide whether we're going to be friends. There is an old school thing. Like I was working in the 70s, for a band leader, like big band leader, who was horrendous to me. I mean, his whole mode of communication was cruelty, basically. He would say the most awful things to you on stage, in front of everybody else, and loud enough for the audience to hear. I mean, you get through that stuff. But that was very much about that kind of time. And I don't endorse it, but I do see it for what it was, because I was there. I lived through that.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a place for motivation, but I think you can motivate and inspire people with kindness as well, not cruelty. So yeah. So with this video cast series, this one's about drums, and obviously you're an amazing, accomplished pianist as well. Can we expect a video cast series on your keyboard playing as well?
Well, not unless there's unbelievable demand. No, I tell you, this has been, and we've only done 6 episodes, but the amount of time just into trying to conceptualize each one in terms of what makes it hit home with its information content, but also all the extra, the lights, how does it look? We're doing everything, and the sound, of course. We're using some pretty sort of basic setups. We're just depending on how great the drums sound and how good the room is, and just going for it. I mean, there's no luxurious special effects. It's just about music and about the reality. It's like we're here in a room and it sounds like the room you're seeing, and and that's it.
It looks great to me so far from what I've seen of it. Some of the clips, it looks amazing. So yeah.
I mean, I'm not averse to doing it on keyboards. I think with both instruments, there's, I'm not some kind of, I don't consider myself any kind of innovator level, but what I do consider is that I have a voice on the both instruments, actually, and I can see how that is there, and it almost doesn't matter what kind of project I'm doing, because I do a terrific amount of different music and on either instrument, and but that voice is always there, and I hear it. But I think it's there as a result of my reluctance to. First of all, I never transcribed anything of anybody else's. This is where I find myself at great odds with the community of not only the both instruments I play, but saxophone players, guitarists, whatever. Everybody's going transcription mad, and I'm going like, why would you want to do that? I mean, no, I know it's a great thing to accomplish a solo that's been born in somebody spontaneously, and it's been their expression. Why would you want to actually master that like it's some kind of, because the artist himself, Alan Holdsworth, used to get most upset when people used to transcribe his stuff. He said, man, that was me on the spur of the moment, half drunk, on the stage, having fallen over, my knee was bleeding, and I played that solo. I would never play that solo again. Why immortalize it or attempt to make it some kind of, I don't know, trophy or whatever? And he'd say, think of something yourself. You don't copy me, because you're only going to be as good as that last time you transcribed me. Even if you do get near it. And he had a kind of serious point with that, and he got very upset about people trying to clone him and get his kind of movement into their muscle memory, which is really where I'm coming from too. So I really listened for the attitude in certain musicians, attitude of blues players, attitude of boogie woogie players, jazz players, rock players on piano, how they take solos, how they pace it, how they get the kind of frenetic thing, but not to know exactly what it is they're doing. Just to get to try to be inspired and take on the inspiration given to me by hearing them and seeing them do that, but having to do the work to think, now how can I get an effect like that? If I was to make a big interval jump up here, could that possibly sort of, that's getting near it, and how about if I play that more intensely, or maybe just do a little trill between the fingers on, excuse me, that's coming over quite well, and you get near to trying to sort of get near that effect that inspired you so deeply.